listening to what I have to say today. What I want to share with you is something that I've experienced several times, and I just want to share with you a little bit about my experiences. And this is something very near and dear to my heart. It's a typical women's trip to Target. And so I'm really just going to lay out some steps as to what it usually looks like for women as they head to Target and do some shopping. So for me, this usually looks like, making a list early on in the week, making a scheduled time to go to Target because they have everything that I may need at Target. They have groceries and toiletries, everything that Amy needs. So this starts with step one. And step one is the list. So usually a woman begins like her week and she's thinking about all these things that she may need later on in the week. This could include groceries, this could include toiletries, this could include clothing, anything that she may need, right? So she writes it all out so that she has a concrete plan. There's no what ifs. She knows exactly what she's going in to buy. She knows exactly what she needs, and she writes it out throughout the week. She may think of something later on. And so her list, usually she also has a budget in mind when it comes to her list. She kind of knows, okay, I'm going to be spending this much, I'm not going to go over, but I'm probably looking at about this much. So after she has a concrete list, she plans time to go to Target, right? And so that brings us to step two. And this usually takes place in the Target parking lot as she's pulling in. And this is usually the shortest of the steps. And this is what I like to call the pep talk. So she's sitting in the Target parking lot and she's telling herself, okay, she's having this conversation with herself. I'm not going to spend more than my budget. I'm going in and out, right? So this is her mentality, right? She has this in and out mentality. It's not going to take very long, 10, 15 minutes max. So she knows she's going to spend and she's getting in and out. So, like I said, that's the end of step two. She's got her pep talk ready and she begins to head into Target. And this brings us to step three. And this is the longest of the three steps. This is called the Gallivant. Step three is the Gallivant. And so I took the liberty of getting a picture here set up. This is what it's called Bullseye's Playground, right? This is the very beginning of Target, the very front of the store. And this is the area where you can find anything ranging from glow sticks to Scooby-Doo pens to Halloween costumes from last year. And usually these items are like $3 to $5, right? So they're super cheap. You can get a bunch of them for really cheap. So usually she spends at least 10 minutes checking out Bullseye's Playground right here, and ends up adding a few things to her cart that she ultimately doesn't need and isn't on her list. But that's not a big deal because it went decently fast. And so she begins to head forward and into the store and start checking things off of her list. But immediately she gets sidetracked by the swimsuit section, and of course she had to go check it out. But as she's walking through the swimsuit section, she realizes, I should probably lose about 10 pounds before I can buy one of these. So then she continues to do her shopping and she's really getting in the zone, right? I have to get my things off my list. But according to the University of Pennsylvania, women are happy to meander through sprawling clothing and accessory collections or detour through the shoe department. So of course she heads on over to the shoes, checks all that out, makes sure that there's nothing that she can't live without, and usually that means that she finds a pair of shoes. Target shoes are pretty decently priced, so she ends up getting a few pairs of shoes, or just one pair of shoes, not to go too crazy, but tries on some clothes in the fitting room, doesn't have the right size, comes back, you know how it goes, right? So she spends some time there. And according to according to Forbes magazine, the stereotype of women is that they have an insatiable appetite for shoes, handbags, and sparkly things. So of course, she heads on over to the purses and the jewelry section really fast just to check that out, see if she can't finds anything that she can't live without. And usually that's one or two items. So at this point, she's really telling herself, man, I gotta stick to my list, I really gotta get things going. So she heads on over to the food section, gets all the groceries that she may need. And then she heads on over to the toiletry section, and of course she gets sidetracked by the office supplies because there's sparkly paperweights that she can't live without. The punny mugs, those are a really big eye catcher for the stereotypical woman, so she probably sends a picture to her friend that it applies to, something along those lines. And by this time, she's found everything on her list, but she also has a few extra items in her cart, like we talked about. And that usually wraps up the Gallivant, and at this point she's like, okay, I really need to get out of here. And so she heads on over, and this brings us to step 4, which is the purchase and the ride home. And so she purchases all of her items, and with each scan she cringes a little bit because she's watching this price go up and up and up. That's okay, she's really excited about all these things that she got, so she's like, well, it's okay, it'll be fine. But as she's driving home, she kind of realizes the gravity of her situation. She's like, oh man, I spent probably more money than I should have, and I have all these things. But then she's also really excited at the same time because she has all these new clothes and like these new items she's really excited about. And so she gets home, and this really brings us to step 5. She pulls into her garage, and here we have step 5, and this is what I like to call the sneak. So she's sitting in her car, and she's wondering, oh my goodness, my husband is sitting inside. I have no idea how I'm going to get all of this stuff inside without him seeing me. He's going to know that I went over budget. He's expecting a bunch of groceries, and I have way more items. And so this kind of can look like a couple different things. Maybe it looks like her keeping some in the car until he goes to the bathroom later, coming back out and running them in without him noticing. Or you know what? Like her computer bag is sitting in the back of her seat. She could just shove a few things in there and bring the computer bag in. He'll have no idea. And so however she can kind of sneak that in without him noticing, she'll be doing really well. So let's recap. Step 1 is a list. She has a concrete plan. She knows exactly what she's going to buy. She knows exactly what she's going to spend on. Step 2 is the pep talk. She tells herself, I'm going in and out mentality right there. Step 3 is the gallivant. This is where everything goes wrong. She realizes she gets all these things that she probably didn't need. And with step 4, she purchases it. She's on the ride home. She's realizing the gravity. She's also very excited. And step 5, she sneaked it in past her husband. He had no idea that she overspent on all of these items. And so she's unpacking all of her things on her kitchen counter. Later on, she's evaluating everything. She realizes she forgot 2 things on her list and repeats the exact same cycle again next week. Thank you all so much for listening. Hope y'all have a nice day.